All right, what's going on, everybody? Eric Matta back at it again for this week's live video podcast. And today we've got a very special episode. We got a very special series coming up, and we want to give you a second to hop on here and thank everybody for getting on. First off, Happy New Year's. I know that this is a big day for a lot of people, and we hope that you're able to celebrate the new year. But what we want to do today is spend some time getting focused on what we want this year to look like. So I got my man back with me again today, JJ. He is the most consistent man I know. So JJ, tell him a little bit about what we're going to be doing today.
Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is we're starting a workshop on a new way to live. So what we're basically doing is we're trying to get the definition of what success is, because everybody has different ideas on what success is. And in order for us to understand what success is meaning to us, that's the only way we're going to ever be able to fight for it. So what we're trying to do is get a definition on what success means to me and how my goals in life have changed. You know, because a lot of times what we need to understand is we're going to go through situations in our life where sometimes our goals are going to be faced with struggles, and we got to be able to shake that off and be able to keep on fighting. So that's what we're going to be dealing with today on what is success.
Good deal. So this if you see in the link right there, everyone's got access that you can download this worksheet that we're going to be going through together. And we encourage you to download it and look through it and read through it, because we're going to get personal. And we want you to be able to understand what success and goals and your vision for yourselves looks like for you, because if we sit up here and try to tell you what your goals are, we are doing you a disservice. And if you listen to other people that tell you what your goals are, you're really missing the benefit of the whole goal setting and the whole New Year's resolution and the whole recovery thing. So I want everybody to know that you can download this whole thing. It's going to be in the link where you can check it out. So definitely check that out as well. So today, right? So we start out this goal setting 2020 workshop with, we want you to identify with what your own personal definition of success is, right? So JJ, why is your own personal definition of success important?
I'm going to say for me, my definition of success was important because I need to understand that life's not cookie cutter. If life was cookie cutter, then we wouldn't have such a diversity like we have. So when I understood what success meant to me, it gave me the ability to shoot towards something that everybody else wasn't aiming at. So when I understood what success means to me, it gave me a clear, focused goal that I could shoot after, because a lot of times what ends up happening is if my definition of success is based off of what somebody else's definition of success is, then basically I'm chasing their dream.
Yep.
And I've got my own dream to chase.
Absolutely. So in the workbook here, we want you to be able to identify what your definition of success is and to actually write that statement out, right? In as short and concise as possible. And we do that for a few different reasons. The first one is we think that it's important to be able to identify what success is for you and how it's changed for you over time, right? So there's a question here that says, how has my understanding of success changed in the last 5 years? So I'll give you an example of myself. So I've got 2 little babies, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a wife, and a job, and a lot of stuff going on. But my life 5 years ago was school, right? It was full-time school. I was working 2 jobs, just trying to keep my head afloat. And like, that was the mentality that I lived in for a long time. And I remember, back then when I would write my goals out forever, it was just like, I just want to get this degree. I just want to finish school. I just want to be done. And if I would have just made that my entire focus and not reevaluated life after that, I would have been stuck in like, okay, well, I've finished this. Now what? Right? So wherever you're at in your life right now, I want you to reflect back and think like, what was success for you 5 years ago? Right? So if you're 30 years old or you're 25 years old, think about what your life was like back then, right? Because it's going to be able to help you out to understand like what your goals are, why they're important to you, what's worked for you in the past. That way you can get a good idea of like what it's going to take to really accomplish your goals. So JJ, tell us a little bit about what was success looking like for you 5 years ago?
See, 5 years ago, I was welding. I was just trying to get a good job. My record from my past life was always there hindering me from getting that job. I was chasing after a job to pay me for the work that I do, but I found out that a lot of times, due to the lifestyle that I lived prior to now, it brought hindrance to me. And what happened was I got to the point where I started thinking like, what if my past life, what if everything that I did could now be used to help somebody else out. So instead of chasing money, I started chasing a good name.
That's right.
So my vision changed from, trying to make that big money to, getting that name that, is transferable, because I understood that a good name is more transferable than even money.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
That's how mine changed.
So we got in here also, it says, if you are to Google the definition of success, you'll actually find that in Webster, it says it's the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, right? And now, I'm real big on that word purpose, because I think that that's like what it's really attached to like why we're here and what we're here for and like what we were meant to do. So I don't take this definition of success lightly, right? Because, and here's the thing, like if me and JJ both wrote down our answers right now, I'd say, okay, Eric, what's your definition of success? And it would be this, right? And without me even telling JJ or telling you or telling anyone else what my definition was, if you wrote out your definition and JJ wrote out his, like those definitions are supposed to be different. Mm-hmm. Right. And nobody's right or wrong. You're not good or bad, because, your a definition of success is to take care of your family or be a good father or, stay clean and do your recovery or do whatever you had to do to like get a better job. Like whatever that thing is for you, like that's personal. And that's what this is about right here. Because one thing I know is that if you don't pause long enough to take a look at yourself and ask yourself, what is my personal definition of success? It's very easy that you will get locked and loaded on what somebody else's definition of success is, or what society's definition of success is. And before you know it, it's very possible that you could be chasing the wrong things, right? Which is, there's nothing worse than that. That's addiction right there. That's back in the streets. Like chasing the wrong things will lead you back to, it's not fulfilling, right? And that's the whole purpose of this right here, is to be able to be fulfilled knowing that we're moving on the right path. So definitely spend some time thinking about that personal definition of success and how your definition of success is different than others. JJ, speak to this one right here for us.
How is my vision of success different from others?
Right here, what challenges can I expect to face?
All right, what challenges can I expect to face while pursuing success? That's important, because a lot of times what happens is, it's just like if a tsunami was to come to Florida. They have preparation that they do for the storm. The storm's not, the preparation is not going to stop the storm.
Yes, it's
but what it does is it keeps the damage down. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build an idea on how to understand that, in pursuing our goals and pursuing our dreams and ambitions, we're going to have storms. We're going to have kickbacks.
Yeah.
With growth, there's kickbacks. I mean, if you don't have kickbacks, you're not riding the right way. So you're going to have something happen. So when I understand what challenges can I expect, it allows me to better ready myself for the time when that thing happens.
Yep, absolutely. So one of my biggest challenges that I've faced, right, and we all know I've faced a ton of challenges, but one of those challenges that I face while pursuing success or whatever I think my definition or my goal is, right, is that oftentimes I will fail to communicate with those around me, like this is the thing that I'm trying to do, right? And when I fail to do that, it causes many challenges for me. For example, right, if my goal is to accomplish some big thing, right, and I spend a lot of time and energy and effort trying to focus on that one thing, but at the same time, like my wife, for example, if I think, well, what is her goals? Or what is the person that's closest to you? What are their goals, right? And it's likely that my goals or my definition of success is different than hers, right? So if I'm not communicating my goals to my wife or to those that I'm working with or those that I'm around, challenges are going to pop up. And before you know it, Eric's over here trying to do this thing and no one understands what I'm doing because I haven't talked to anybody about it. And that at the same time, everyone's over here doing this thing because that's what they think the right thing to do is. And before you know it, we're all just working against each other and everyone's pissed off all the time and really no one really knows what anybody's doing, right? So those are the challenges that I've faced, and those are probably some more recent ones, but I think that regardless of what you're doing, you should definitely expect to be told no, right? Probably 10 or 15 times. Right. If you really want something bad enough, you're going to be willing to go through those no's to get to that yes. And I know that from my own experience, like in the beginning when it was just like, I remember when I first started writing goals, I wrote something like, I want to earn $15 an hour, right? But I had no clue how I would ever earn $15 an hour. I had no clue what type of jobs even paid $15 an hour. So it was like one of them things where I was like, when I went out and tried to look for a $15 an hour job with no education or no experience or lack of transportation, like I got told no a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that's another challenge that you can expect to face. So give me some feedback. What are some challenges that you can expect to face? We see everybody hopping on here, so definitely give us some feedback as well. So for that section right there, I definitely want you to be able to focus on your definition of success, how it's different than others, how it's changed over the past 5 years, and what challenges you can expect to face while you are pursuing your definition of success.
So I was gonna say, like, even when you read that, what challenges can I expect to face while pursuing success? It's almost like it's reading, what challenges can I expect to face? So what is your expectation?
Yeah.
Your expectation has a lot to do with,
Yeah.
are you gonna stay in the game when these struggles come?
Absolutely.
It has to be based off your expectation. What's your expectation on, making it?
Yep.
If you don't have a high expectation of making it, so then we're going to look at what kind of goals are we setting? Are we setting specific, like
Yep.
SMART goals,
Yep.
specific, manageable, attainable?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Timely. I mean, what kind of goals are we actually setting?
Yep.
So when you understand that, that allows you to, grab onto that a little better.
And here's another thing too, is like, especially over the past year, if you've been in recovery or you're like doing the right thing in life, like you've probably already achieved some level of success. But it's very important to reevaluate that, because if you've achieved something and you've conquered something and like that battle or that mission is behind you, like that's experience now, and you can't rest on that. Like, I think the point of recovery is to continue to grow and to continue to try to be the best version of ourselves. So it's really important to be able to evaluate, just like you said, what are my expectations? What challenges am I going to face? Or maybe are the goals that you're striving towards even big enough, right? A lot of times I know in my own experience, like when I take a look at everything that I've tried to do, I've accomplished 90% of it. Right. And then I'll ask myself, like, damn, Eric, were you actually focused on the right things, or were your goals big enough, or are you delusional and you're just crazy? Like, I go back and forth in my head about that stuff. So definitely when you click that link and download this, make sure you spend some time taking a look at that, because you're going to face some challenges and you got to be ready for those when they come. So JJ, kick us off with this next section here.
All right. So we're going to talk about identifying the target. A lot of times when we identify a target, do you know what you're shooting for? When we're talking about the expectations that we got, the goals that we have, are they specific?
Yeah.
We want to be specific. Like, it's going to talk about how we're not making a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
A wish list is something that you wish for. We're going after something.
Right.
I know exactly what I want. When you order something off a Wish, you have an expectation that you're going to get what you think you're going to get.
Yep.
But then you find out a lot of times it's not what you ordered.
Absolutely.
So we got to be specific.
Another thing too is that, so let's say you're going on vacation, right? Let's say you saved up money and you got your family and you're all excited about vacation. And let's say you want to go to Venice Beach in California, right? How are you going to get there? With two options. You're going to fly, or if you drove, one thing you would have probably would be a GPS. And the cool thing about having a GPS is that, like, if I was to just tell my phone, like, take me to Venice Beach in California, it's going to give me exact directions on every turn I need to take, every toll I'm going to go through, a pretty accurate description of the time it's going to take to get there. And I'm going to be able to basically not put in any effort on my end other than just maintaining the driving directions to get there, right? But let's say that I've saved up money and I'm ready to go on vacation. I've got the car loaded up and the kids packed up and the wife in the car. And I'm like, okay, we're ready for vacation. And everyone looks at me and says, where are we going? Right? There's no target. There's no destination. There's no end in mind. Therefore, I'm likely to end up somewhere that I didn't plan on being. Right? So there's a quote in here that says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Right? So as you start moving into 2020 and thinking about your next moves and your goals and what you want to do with yourself, like, it's very important to identify what it is you want to accomplish, like the target that you need to be working on. And there's a good chance that you can have a lot of different things that you want to work towards. Like, you may have some personal stuff, you may have some professional stuff, you may have some financial stuff, you may have some relational stuff, some spiritual stuff, some housing. Like, there's going to be many things that you're going to work on, but it's very important to be specific when you start thinking about, like, okay, what are the actual things that I'm going to be working towards? So, and we're doing, see, all this preparation we're doing right here. Most people make the mistake and just say, okay, I got my pen and my paper. I want to get a better job. I want to get a nice car. I want to, buy my wife something or, go on a trip, but it's like you fail to plan. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and really spending some time thinking about, okay, this is the area of my life that's not doing right now. Mine is health. Right. I've put on a lot of weight over the past year or two. And like now I've got a plan to get myself back to where I want to be. But I know that I had to first identify like that's the area of my life right now that's not doing very well that I need to start working on. So that's what's up with that area there. So
another one that I really like in there is at the end of it, there's a spot where it says, if we stop and ask ourselves, what do we really, 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 really want? A lot of times, some people go to nursing schools because their mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
And they were a nurse. A lot of times we get ourselves into these careers that we might not necessarily want to do, but we're doing it because that's what our family has always done. So it might be the military for somebody. You might have had a grandfather that was in the military, a father that was in the military, and now you're going into the military, but you can't find no growth in there because it's not what you really, really want. So in finding out what your goal is, make sure it's something that you really, really want.
Yep.
Don't make sure it's not just trying to make somebody else happy.
Yeah. And check this out, guys. Like if you're new to recovery or you've got like under 6 months, 9 months clean, like let's say you're in like that 30 to 90 day range, right? You want to be careful with this because you're at a stage where being told what to do is somewhat beneficial, because if you are just coming out of the streets or just coming out of treatment or just coming back out of jail or something like that, there's a good chance that this thing up here is operating on some old belief systems.
That's some bad
so
counsel.
Therefore, so it's like, you don't want to just be able to say, well, now my goal is to go get this job. So now when I get this job, I don't have no time for treatment, or I don't have time to go see my PO, or I don't have no time to do all this stuff. Like there's a lot of things you want to do, but there's also a lot of things you have to do. And one thing that you cannot do is neglect to do those things that you have to do. So we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks to come. But just know that when JJ's talking about doing the things that you really, really, really want, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of work to get to that space, because out of the years of work that I've done working with folks, like a lot of those goals that I help people reach, I call lower level goals. Like, getting a job, getting a place to live, getting a car, getting into school, getting a job, like those are lower level goals, right? And those are important goals because they help us build that foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, it's not even really possible to start thinking like, okay, JJ, where do I want to be in 5 years? Or like, what do I really, really, really want to do with my life? So it's like, regardless of where you're at, just make sure that those are your goals and they're not goals that are someone else has set for you. So tell us a little bit about the Wheel of Life. What is the Wheel of Life?
Okay, so the Wheel of Life, this is basically a wheel that allows us to self-assess. It allows us to see where we're at. So in the Wheel of Life, you're going to number from 1 to 10 on the wheel. Yep. So what you're going to do is everything don't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's not that kind of wheel. But for instance, if you talk about like relationships, so say someone was married and they've got divorced. So their relationship would now be a 4 with their spouse. So relationship could be anybody, but I'm going to use it for a spouse for right now. Your relationship's a 4, and then you go over to your social life and you find out, hey, my social life's a 4. Well, why is my social life a 4? Yep. Because me and my wife had the same friends. So you understand that there's a tie right there, and then you go in there and you look at your career and you find out my career was a 9. Well, maybe my relationship was lacking at home because my career was a 9. So it allows you to self-assess so you can get that more evened out wheel so that you can have a well-rounded life rather than a
So if you're wondering what JJ's talking about, there's a worksheet that you guys are able to download and get access to that we want you to be able to have to at least reference to. In the Wheel of Life, there's about 10 different areas of your life. It talks about relationships, social life, joy, health, career, creativity, finances, education, spirituality, home environment, and relationships. So what it's basically asking you to do is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning this area sucks and 10 meaning this area is doing really well, right? Just give yourself a little self-assessment about how you feel about that area right now. And again, there's no judgment. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. Like, how do you feel about the joy in your life on a scale of 1 to 10? If your answer is 1, right, that means you're not very joyful, and that may be a goal. At the end of this lesson here, we're going to be writing out some goals for ourselves. So this is going to give us a good starting place to be able to realize, like, okay, identifying the target. What area of my life do I want to work on?
Right.
People make a big mistake. Life and goals is not always about money or career or stuff. Like your satisfaction with life, like how fulfilled do you feel? How joyful are you? What is your health like? Like those are big areas. If you got $1 million in the bank and you're about to die from some health related issue, does that money in the bank matter?
It's nothing.
If you got $1 million in the bank and everyone hates you and there's nothing that you do for fun and there's no joy in your life, is that $1 million worth anything?
Nope.
Absolutely not. So just something to think about. So this area right here, actually, it asks you several good questions. So please spend some time thinking about that. It says, what stands out to you as you look at how you ranked these different areas, right? So again, if I was doing this 5 years ago while I'm like trucking through school and I'm feeling like I'm never going to graduate and life sucks and just everything's hard and I'm just ready to quit, I would have felt like my education was like a 4, right? But now that I've graduated and I've got a degree and my licensure and everything's good to go, like I would say I'm probably like at 8 or a 9 right there. Like it's one of those spaces where it's like I've achieved a level of success to the point that I'm not focused on that area of my life right now. So again, like this is good stuff right here. Please take some time and dive into this so you can really take some gold nuggets for yourself. So it also goes on to ask you a real serious question. It says, so after you identify each of those areas of your life and you rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning life sucks or 10 meaning this area is really good, it asks you, it says, what would a 10 look like for you in that area of your life? Right. So I just shared with you my health, my weight is a little unmanageable right now. So Eric, what would a 10 look like in that area of your life? So again, before we start writing out our goals, an appropriate goal for me would not be, I want to lose weight. Like that's a bad goal. Right. It's a good goal that you have that, but it's like, it's not specific. It's not measurable. There's no action behind it. It's not, there's no like, if I like don't eat dinner tonight and then I hop on the scale in the morning, I'm like lost a half a pound because I didn't eat dinner. It's like, did I accomplish my goal? No, right? That's a small step. So if I was to say, okay, what would a 10 look like? I would say I would like to get back down to about 225, be able to run 5 miles in probably 45 minutes. I would like that. And I would like to lift a certain amount of weight in my 3 main lifts. That's what a 10 would look like for me in my health, right? I'm far from there right now, but like, that's what it would look like. So that's what I encourage you to spend some time doing right there. So JJ, what do you got to add on that?
Just take some time on there because, you know, you're going to find out that if you look at this wheel, it's going to come back. I'll use a pencil on here if you print it up. That way you can go back and look because you're going to see that it's going to change. You're going to see that as one part of your life grows, you're going to see another part, you know, might drop down. So it shows you how to get everything balanced because what we're looking for is a balanced life. We're not looking for what one may think is a perfect life where everything's going to be 10, just as long as it's balanced. What does a balanced life look like? You know, when you look at a wheel and, you know, they put the little balancers on it so that your alignment's good. Yep. We're just trying to get your balance. We're trying to get that alignment right.
Just basically get some awareness going. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot, especially again, if you're early in recovery, you might look at this and say, finances, good God, I haven't had a job in 5 years, like negative 10, right? If that's where you're at, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. So the good thing is that a little bit of effort and a little bit of progress in that area is going to make you feel really good about yourself. And that's what it's all about. So moving on, right? This is where this stuff starts to get fun. So at the end of that, identifying the target sheet there, it asks you to take some time and to close your eyes and think about how you would feel to improve every area of your life, right? So I don't think that it's realistic to ever think that at any time in your life, every single one of those areas are always going to be a 10, right? Obviously, if you're grinding really hard in your career or your business or your financial areas of your life, like let's say you're doing really good there, that means you're putting a lot of time, effort, and attention. So it only makes sense that other areas of your life are not as high ranking as that area there. So there's just always a give and take. And that's why it's good to, maybe you've accomplished a lot in the past year and it's good to sit down and just say, okay, like where am I at now? And what exactly do I need to be working on? So that's good stuff right there. JJ, take us into goal setting.
All right. So goal setting, this is where we're talking about. There's a quote by Brian Tracy. I like it. It says, people with clear written goals accomplish far more in a shorter period of time than people without them could ever imagine.
What's that mean?
So basically what I tell people is if you go into a grocery store and you just go in there to go buy stuff,
Yep.
you're going to get lost.
Yep.
You're going to start buying things that you might not necessarily need.
Yep.
You're going to miss things that you were supposed to go, that you had a mission to get. So when you write down a list, it gives you, you know what I'm saying, a clear direction, and you're able to go after it. So a lot of times when we're writing goals, we're writing these things down, it's giving us a clear direction so we know what to aim toward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Brian Tracy is like a triple OG when it comes to like personal development, success, and goals. He's probably like 80 or 90 years old now. So he makes a lot of YouTube videos. He's done a ton of courses. He's wrote a lot of books. I definitely highly recommend picking up some of his stuff. I mean, it's all gold. So it says on here, it says, this may be the most important lesson you ever learn in your life, right? That's a bold statement right there. But I believe that being able to identify your own personal goals and to take your own personal action towards those goals and to be able to feel that satisfaction and that progress, like there's nothing else in the world that can touch that, right? When you know that there's something that you want and that you've worked your butt off to get it and you've accomplished it, I'm like, it does something to your insides, right? So first off, I want to start by sharing, like, so today's New Year's Day, right? So I saw something on my Facebook pop up from 2 years ago. And on 2 years ago, when I'm writing out my goals, this is very important, right? So I'm not just telling a lame story. This is very important. So 2 years ago, when I done this same exercise here, I wrote out, or my goal was, I want to buy a camper and travel the state and stay at different state parks, right? I wrote that down as my goal, right? So that was January 1st, 2018. Yeah, 2018, I wrote that. I want to buy a camper and I want to travel the state and I want to stay in all these state parks, right? So 4 days later, on January 4th, and about a half a foot of snow and about 20 degrees outside, I bought a camper, right? And it was, I went and I got the money for it and I found it and I went and looked at it and like I impulsively bought it, right? I still have it. It's sitting outside right now. Guess how many trips I've taken in that thing? Guess.
I would say probably 2.
I think about 4.
Okay.
So here's the thing, guys. I said that to say this, right? To buy the camper was not actually the goal. That wasn't what I really wanted. What I really wanted was to spend time with my family, right? When I was growing up, we took a lot of camping trips. We did a lot of fun things like that. And that's what I wanted to recreate in my life today. Like I said, I got the 2 young daughters, I got the wife, I got friends, I got family. Like I really wanted to spend time with my family because I know how this thing works and I'll get so focused on accomplishing my goals that I will neglect to spend time with people that I love and care about. So I said that to say this. I said, it's very important that you not just think about the goal that you want to accomplish, but you got to think about the outcome, right? So again, I set the goal to buy the camper, but that wasn't the outcome that I wanted. The outcome was I want to spend time with my family. Like I want to relax and enjoy life and sit by the campfires and like take the dog places and stuff like that. And it still hasn't happened how I want it to. So do I sell the camper? Do I burn it down? Do I get rid of it? No, I got to reevaluate and say, okay, Eric, you made a mistake setting your goals, right? The goal was not to just buy the camper. The goal was to get the camper and spend time with the family. So that way this year, like what I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about doing is scheduling some time out and communicating with the family, right? Everyone else just saw Eric on some rampage trying to buy a camper, didn't know what the heck he was trying to do. You just get out of his way type stuff. But it's really just because I want to spend time with people that I love and care about. So this year, what I'm going to do is be a little bit more intentional about communicating that with folks. That way, when I say, hey, I got this camper, I'd like to go down to this state park with you. And on May 30th, how do you feel about that? The way we can get some agreement up front, the way we can all plan ahead and prepare for it. So JJ, add to that. What you got?
So when we do this, we're going to list 10 goals. So that way you have, stuff to look at. So you see that part of your goal, but then you can go back and see another part of your goal accomplished. Yep. Which part of my goal, when it says, what is your definition of success? Mine is resurrection of dead dreams and birthing of new ones.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of times, I might have had this dream, but the dream that I had, I brought it to life a lot quicker than what it was supposed to be brought to life.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? I've done that a lot in my life. So being able to, bring something out and then being able to go back, look at it again and put it in its proper perspective. So when you list 10 goals, it gives you an ability to say, what's the most important thing to me?
Absolutely.
So it's giving us a list of 10 goals, and then we're able to bring out what's the most important thing to me? What's going to bring the greatest impact in my life?
Yep. So I'd like to add this too, because I've worked with a lot of people, and one of the first things I tell them to do is write out a list of 10 goals you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. So I say that for a few different reasons. One is I want you to be specific about the time frame. So I'm not just saying write out 10 goals. Write out 10 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. Again, if you're just now joining on, there's a link that's above this video, or maybe you got to click to go directly to the page, but there's a link that you can download this entire workbook that we've built, that we want you to have, that we want you to be able to keep, because this is going to be a 6-week course that we're going to be going through together. This is week 1 right here. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But it's very important to identify 10 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. Now, I've had a lot of people start writing out their goals and they say, well, Eric, I don't have 10 goals. I say, yes, you do. Keep thinking, right? And the cool thing about this is that if you participate and you've done the wheel of life, like you've identified a few areas of your life that could be improved. So therefore, maybe you realize like, okay, my home life is not the best. Okay, well, set a goal behind that. Like, what would make your home life improve? Maybe you want to move out of your grandma's house. Maybe you want to move into your grandma's house. Maybe you want to get your own place, or maybe you want to live in transitional housing, or maybe you want to save up money and buy a home or rent a home. And see, when you get specific like that, that's when you can start really having a goal for yourself. And it's good to be able to have 10, because what you'll realize after you write out your list of 10 goals is that there are certain things that have to happen first, right? So obviously, let's say you have the goal of, buying a home, getting a car, getting a job, getting your kids back, saving $10,000 this year. Let's say those are your 5
and
goals.
getting your license.
And getting your license, right? What's the one goal that has to happen first, right? And there's a logical sequence of steps that must take place before all your goals can be accomplished. And here's the cool part about having a list that's actual, like this is my list right here. Like when you write these things out, and you realize like, these are my goals, what you can do is you can start to get focused on one at a time. Because if you don't, these goals are just banging around in your head like a bag of marbles, marbles, not a bag of cigarettes. Now, if these goals are just banging around in your head, like, and you're just thinking about them all the time, and you're not putting any effort in, you're not going to accomplish them. But by being able to list them out and pick like the one, okay, maybe it's my license. Like, what is it actually going to take to get your license back? Who do you owe money to? How much money do you owe these people? What's it going to take? Like when you have that concrete written out, like then you can identify like, okay, this thing right here, like paying off this fine or this reinstatement fee, or like this one thing is like the first step towards accomplishing all my goals. And the cool thing about that is once you see it and once it's clear and written out, like you have the ability to do that. There's nothing holding you back from accomplishing these goals, but you have to be crystal clear on what you're doing, because if you don't, right, just like we talked about when you don't identify the target, if you don't know where you're going, any road is going to get you there, right? So 10 goals, be specific as you can be. Again, I'll say it one more time. If I told you, hey, my goal is to lose weight this year, that's a bad goal, right? Because it's not specific, it's not measurable, it's just a bad goal. But if I was to say, I want to lose 30 pounds in the next 12 months, like that's realistic, it's doable. There's a lot of actions that I'm going to have to take to accomplish that. So be as specific as you can. So moving on, JJ, tell us a little bit more about that one goal. Why is that one goal important?
So that one goal is important because what happens is if you've set goals before, we're going to look at the probability of the goal. So, you know, if you're looking for a goal, you want to make sure if your first goal, you're trying to succeed it, you want to make sure it's 80 to 90% of probability that it's going to happen.
Okay.
Because you want to be able to look back on that. The further that you go with it, you're going to look at more of a 50-50 because it's more of a challenge at that point. So what I like to look at it as is if I go into my house and my house is dirty, like it needs clean. If I look at the house, I'm overwhelmed with the house. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Very easy to
But
do.
if you start at one room, I say, well, you know what? I can get the living room together. The probability of success in me getting a living room together is it's high because it's the cleanest room out of all of them.
And then when the living room's together, the kitchen gets easier
Right.
and the bathroom gets easier.
Right.
And you just
because now you see something successful in your life. You can sit down, drink your lemonade, turn on the TV and be like, you know what? I like this feeling.
Right. So
then it gives you the energy.
Get some momentum to get going. So
Positive
another
vibes.
thing that I'll add to this list, so after you have your list of your 10 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months, I want you to look at that list, right? And I want you to pick the goal that would have the greatest positive impact on your life if you were to accomplish it. right? I say that for a few different reasons. One, that goal is going to be the big domino that if you knock that goal down, a ton of other stuff is going to automatically become possible because you've accomplished that one goal.
That's your Goliath.
For example, if you got all this grand goals you want to do, again, back to the license, if you don't have a license, like you can't get very far. And if you do get very far, you're constantly looking in that rear view, worried about getting pulled over, or worried about getting busted, right? So if you're the goal that would have the greatest positive impact on your life is to get your license back, I want you to circle that goal, right? Because that's going to add a tremendous amount of value to your life. That goal will help wake you up in the morning before your alarm clock goes off, because you know how motivated you are to work towards that goal. And it's because of this next list we're about to write out. So again, moving on. So we've got our list of 10 goals. We've got our one goal that would have the greatest positive impact on your life. This right here, my friend, this is where the work starts to happen. So up to this point, it's just been like, oh yeah, goals. This is fun, good stuff. I like goals. But when the rubber has to meet the road, this is where the bees and the wannabes get separated right here.
That's right.
So whatever your one goal is, right? The one goal that have the greatest positive impact on your life. There's a page in here. It's page 13 in our book, or in our paperwork here. If you write out that one goal that would have the greatest positive impact on your life, what I want you to do from there is I want you to create a list of 20 action steps that you can do to achieve this goal, right? 20, yes, 20. So I know that the first 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be fairly easy to think about. Like, so if your goal is to get your license back, and that's the greatest goal that have the biggest positive impact, you probably know what it's going to take. Like, pay off my reinstatement fee, pay off my court fines, take the test, get an SR22 bond. You probably know the first few steps, but when you really start thinking about it, you're going to realize, like, damn, why haven't I already done these? Like, what is it actually that's holding me back? What is the thing that I need to be doing that I'm not doing right now that I'm capable of doing, right? So I always say, don't stop until you get a list of 20, right? Because in my own experience, and especially once you start working towards those bigger goals, maybe you want to start a business, or maybe you want to buy a home, or like plan a big vacation or something like that. Like, when you start listing between 10, 15, and 20, like, that's when you start tapping into some creativity that you didn't even know was there, right? And I have some tangible evidence, some proof, because I've done this before. Like, I've written out, I remember one time I wrote out like 20 different ways I can make extra money on the side, right? And I had some stupid ideas on there, some stupid ideas. But I'm telling you what, once I got to that 15, 16, 17, 18, it's weird how the clutter gets out of there. And then you can just start thinking a little bit more creative about, like, bam, like,
That's the juice.
and I remember there was one time it was number 20, bam. And like, that was it for me right there. But had I just been sitting there thinking, how can I make some extra money on the side to, pay my bills? And I thought, well, I can't think of anything. I can't come up with nothing. That's because I didn't try, right? And what I'm sharing with you is that if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to identify what you want, like, it's game time. It's 2020, right? You get one shot at this year, at this day, at this life. Like, and if you're not willing to put in the work, then you better be satisfied with being broke, or being unemployed, or being overweight, or being, alone, or whatever that is for you. Like, and if you want to accept that, that's cool. But if you're watching this, I don't think you want to accept that. So spend some time thinking about what it is that you want to accomplish, and spend some time thinking about what you actually have to do to accomplish it. JJ, what you got to add to that?
Another big part of this is you got to believe it. If you don't believe it, if you can't believe it, then at the end of the day, it's going to be hard for you to achieve. So you have to make sure that you believe it. And like you said, once you start writing it out, you start to find out what you really, really want, what you really, really desire, and you start to find that thing, and that gives you the ability to grab onto that thing. It's like anything else in life. The first time you do it, you don't do it to the best effort. You do it to what you think's the best effort. It's like when you get a job. You go to this job, and this expectation this job has for you, where you got to know what these parts are and these parts are, and you're sitting here working with all these parts, but eventually once you get on the job, you're like the vet that you see in there. The guy that's been there for years, you know, he don't even read the labels. He just kind of grabs it.
He just knows
the
it.
more you go into this thing, eventually you'll get to the part where you start grabbing it and you'll start knowing what your goals are, and you can begin to make this thing a part of your life rather than just an activity that you do.
Absolutely, man. That's good stuff. So so this is going to wrap up this first week right here. It says there's another Brian Tracy quote. If you can't tell now, we're a big fan of Brian Tracy. It says, successful people do what they have to do when they have to do it, whether they feel like it or not. All right? Tattoo that shit on your brain. Successful people do what they have to do when they have to do it, whether they feel like it or not. Right? So on this journey, right, or in your recovery, in your life, right, if you want to be a successful person and you want to grow and you want to stay clean and you want to do all the things that you aspire to do, right, get used to doing the things you have to do when you have to do them, whether you feel like it or not, right? Because here's the thing. If you write out your list of goals and you know the steps it's going to take to get there and you know what it's going to take, but you don't do it, that's your fault. Right. And the bad thing is that you can be, you know, today's my birthday. I just turned 32. Right. So if I do nothing this year, right, if I just sit on my butt all year and don't work towards none of my goals, next year I'm going to turn 33 and then I'll be 34 and then I'll be 35 and then I'll be 55 and then I'll be 65. And if I'm not continuously working on myself, trying to become the better version of myself, trying to do the next right thing, like what happens is we start reverting back. So I'll leave you with that today and to give you a little tidbit of what to expect next week. So what we've covered this week is your definition of success, identifying the target, goal setting. Next week, we're going to break down these goals into long-term goals and short-term goals and actually help you be able to see the process of like, okay, like my goal is to get a college degree. What the heck do I do to get a college degree?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we're going to teach you how to break those goals down, right? We're going to be talking about your influences in your life, right? And how important those influences are. And then, and the next lesson, and also with that, we're going to be talking about some silence, some solitude, looking within, right? Being able to get in touch with those things that you really, really, really want to do, right? I don't remember the exact quote, but there's a guy that says, there's a fortune inside that only you can, I got to figure it out now. There's a fortune inside of you that only you can tap into, that nobody else can get, that no one, I got to share it to you now.
So when you look at that, you definitely want to know how to break down long-term goals from short-term goals. So that's one of the keys that we're looking at too. You want to know how to do this stuff. If you're just kind of going into this thing and you don't know exactly what you're doing, then a lot of times you get lost in the midst of it.
Yes. The quote says, silence and solitude are where fortunes are born. Yes, I love that. Let's think about that, right? And when I say a fortune, I'm not talking about a big stack of money. I'm talking about the fortune of your life, right? The thing, the stuff, the people, the whatever it is that you really, really want to do, right? And the cool thing about this program that we're walking you through and the goals that you want to accomplish is that they're yours, they're personal. You know what I'm saying? It's not somebody, it's not a judge or your PO or a counselor, somebody telling you what to do all the time. Like, and again, if you have to do those things, you have to do them, but you have to be able to get in touch with the things that you want to do, because there's something inside that turns on when you start focusing on that stuff. And when you make a habit in your life of working towards things that are important to you, that's when good stuff starts to happen. So I appreciate everybody watching tonight.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us. We definitely love answering questions. And JJ, what you got? You got anything else you want to wrap up with?
Hey man, just continue to dig in. Like you said, like even when you don't feel like doing it, still do it. I mean, just being able to write these things down and making it plain, it gives you the ability to be able to run with it.
Absolutely.
A lot of times if we don't have a plan, then we're going to fail.
Yep.
So
absolutely. So again, we will see you next week. It'll probably be like Tuesday or Wednesday, but just know that this is a 6-week series and we're going to be bringing it to you live right here on the page. We're also recording it. It's going to be in some other special areas that you'll be able to get access to. So if you want to watch the replay and you can't find it on the page, hit us up. We'll definitely get you access to it. And
download
again,
the PDF.
Yeah, download that workbook and print it out, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Done.